God's leaders are to be not violent but gentle. God's people do not need leaders who love to make an impact. Now, usually the kind of violence that we're going to be talking about is done in the name of getting it done. You know, I have to do this. We haven't got time to mess around. Got to get it done. And the truth behind it really is that it's not essential. The truth is it's more about pleasure than principle. We want to make our mark. And we want to make our mark as leaders on someone. Now, I'm not just talking about walking up to someone and landing them one with a right hook or the heavy baseball bat. I think it's violence as well. You know, the kind of shock tactics that a leader can deliberately use sometimes and enjoy. You see a leader strolling across the stage in front of a shocked, bewildered congregation, and you think, you're enjoying this. Shock tactics. Physical violence, yes, but also force of personality. Deliberately provocative language. Don't mean that we have to be boring all the time. No, we don't. But all of those things, those uses of excessive force, are all forms, they're like cheats. You know, in video games and things like that, you get cheats. You can actually find a little way round, and it means you win the game. Except you don't, do you? Because you cheated. And similarly, when we use those kind of elements in our leadership, we win nothing. Everybody loses. You know, usually again, I say it again, it's saving time. You know, that's the usual excuse. And what we're really doing is saying, you know, I'm going to satisfy myself. I'm going to get what I want. And that's what it's a quick route towards doing. If I can actually just use the force of my personality, for instance, such as it is, to get what I want, brilliant. I'll use that violence because I can do it again and again and again. I know I can. Don't have to wait for the Holy Spirit to turn up. If I can use my temper, my anger, if I can use shock tactics to get what I want, I'll do that again. I know how to do that. I can do that again and again. No need for the Holy Spirit. Whatever does get achieved using violence, the church isn't built up. Doesn't matter what I get people to do. I can get them going out knocking on doors telling people about Jesus. It's still not going to build the church up if I've used violence in order to do it. There was a sketch that someone produced a while back which was called The Evangelism Linebacker, which had the idea of forcing people to get out there and tell people about Jesus by jumping on them and beating them up. Yeah, I hope it's comedy. But if it worked, it wouldn't work. It doesn't actually achieve anything. In fact, if I use violence, I'm undoing my own work. Because there are going to be, in the course of me being a leader, there are going to be enough times where I actually have to say what people don't want to hear. There are going to be enough times when it's going to shock and surprise them because they find themselves in confrontation with me. Now, if they have the remotest justifiable suspicion that I'm doing this because I enjoy doing this, that I'm doing this because I like being in their face and showing them who's boss, if they sense that at all and it's justified, they will simply ignore the leadership that I give at that point. And so they should. If I'm going to be the kind of leader that God's people need me to be, my go-to for getting it done has to be not violence but gentleness. And gentleness, remember, of Jesus' sort. Gentleness, that means Not no force at all, but the minimum necessary force. People don't need a show of strength from their leader. They need a leader who shows them God's strength.